Okay, so today's video is going to be really, really funny because I'm going to play a little section of my story narrated by a narrator on Speechify. I decided to do the 3-day trial just to hear it because I think the premium voices are much better with it just sounds much better than the free voices. I bet they do that on purpose because the free voices are very monotone and you can barely even hear like anything, and it's really hard to tell what's good or what's not. But so I decided to give it a go, and they're pretty good most parts with getting everything right, although there are some parts that just sounds really funny, and like sometimes they'll say something really like, how do I explain it? Like this, they're supposed to say it really seriously, but they say it in a really like, and it just sounds so funny. So I'm gonna read. This is this funny section anyway, so I'm gonna have that read out like a part of my dreams, which is really, really, really funny because that's the one that I kind of want to make a spin-off out of it, and then like have it I don't know, have a spin-off where it's just that. So like it just dreams in this crazy ass like long thing that looks like a movie. That's all my dreams. I think that would be so crazy because my dreams are so funny. Like seriously. Okay, I gotta like find it. Okay, I'll start right here.
The next thing I knew, I had just been teleported into my backyard, and I was attempting to attract all kinds of animals with a pancake mixture that included some of the best songs on my computer. For some reason, the batter created a powerful lure and made the most exotic and rare animals show up. Suddenly, I had pandas, all kinds of fish, Tasmanian devils, cows, sheep, kangaroos, wombats, and birds in my backyard. I felt overjoyed as I built a pond for the fish, until I realized the giant goldfish were eating the small ones, and the barramundi began eating the chubby goldfish. Soon I had a massive family of cats coming into our house with all their kittens. Would you help me look after my 2 big cats? My friend asked. Of course, I answered. We took...
Like you can hear like it's like the questions really sound like questions, right? They're pretty good with it, although it's still like, they still have work to do. Like there are certain things that is like they'll say something and then it's like it's supposed to be something but it says IT. So it's just like so funny, but anyway.
Cats into our home and suddenly
see, there's my cat. He knows that we're talking about him.
Within a few minutes, the leopards ate all the animals in my yard, and I was devastated. After returning those beasts to my friend, I decided I had to make another pancake mixture to lure more animals. Then, I suddenly discovered all the birds I'd been keeping had been starving because I hadn't fed them in months. My puppy has also been forgotten, and I scrambled to feed them the best food I could find. Except some of them were on the verge of death. But before I could even lure all...
Okay, so that's like a dream of mine, like a recurring dream where I'm always forgetting to feed the animals. It's so weird. Like every single time I have a dream, I always have like a bunch of birds and I've forgotten to feed them, and puppies that get forgotten. Like in real life, I'm not like that. But in my dreams, I think it's just like a fear of mine where I'm scared I'm going to forget about them. So that's why I always dream about them. So yeah, that's just one thing.
The exotic animals back, I found myself in the most dreaded place back in university. You must finish your courses, Mum insisted. I looked at all my subjects and my head spun. I entered the classroom once again in an attempt to finish this teaching degree for the 2034th time.
Oh, the way it says that is so funny. It's like this teaching degree.
And realized I hadn't even completed my assignments, and the due date was yesterday. Looks like I'm destined to fail again, I thought to myself as I contemplated convincing Mum I didn't have to continue studying. In class, I sat next to the most wanted criminal in jail, who saw an excellent opportunity to get me to fail. Why did you go to jail? I dared to ask. I killed 2 people when I was in my dolphin state, she replied. Well...
Dolphin state? I don't know. This is a real dream. Like, I'm not making this shit up. Like, this is a real dream I had, and I don't even understand it.
That sounded terrifying. Who knows when she is going to be in her dolphin state again? Suddenly, I felt the urge to pee, so I hurriedly ran towards the public toilets.
Oh, this happens every time.
To my horror, I discovered that every toilet was filled with shit. I tiptoed around looking for...
The way it says shit is so funny.
A clean toilet, only to find poop in every corner and wall. Even the shower was covered in feces. Ultimately, I failed 2 of my classes and realized it wouldn't be long until I was forced back into this course again. I looked around and found myself in my friend Amber's backyard because I would bring her some plants. For some unknown reason, I forgot the plants and fell asleep in her yard instead.
Oh, that sounds like
When
me.
I woke up, I knocked on her door to explain what had happened. Suddenly, we noticed that her apartment
Oops, sorry.
complex had a gardening centre with free soil, so we went in hoping to score some freebies. I tried to find
random.
Andy, who was attempting to pick me up with the car, but we couldn't find her after walking around the complex 5 times, so I ended up driving the car to look for her, even though she was driving the car to look for me. Dreams don't make sense, I guess. Somehow, my non-existent sense of direction landed me in a faraway pond.
Oh my god, it's so funny. Every single time in my dream, I swear people are always trying to find me and I'm trying to find people and I can never find anyone and I'm always looking for someone or trying to call someone and the phone's not working and everything. That's like a consistent theme that like the phone never works in my dream.
Looked in the water and gasped. What are they? Chompy dog alligators? These creatures look like zigzag dogs with powerful farting and biting abilities, just like alligators. In the
I must have been thinking of Zigzagoon or something.
end, Andy finally found me. Lucas was also in the car, and we drove past a huge festival with giant Migorum signs everywhere and the coolest looking noodle shop. Where is...
I still remember that dream was so wild. It was like we were flying in the air or something and then there was these giant like flags everywhere. So yeah, this was so
this
funny.
place? I asked. This is? Andy began, and before she even finished the sentence, she stopped. I could feel my irritation build as Andy continued to stop halfway through all her sentences,
Oh my god, this is so funny. This is exactly what happens in real life.
which she often does in real life.
There we
Eventually,
go.
I left the car to go check out the festivities. I looked around and found a whole bunch of seats for people to play chess. That's odd. I wonder why people are playing chess at a noodle festival. Don't these people know chess is the most violent sport? Do they not realize the noodle festival flags could be thrown everywhere? Suddenly, I realized
Throw the noodle festival flags everywhere. Oh,
I had
geez.
no phone, and it was time to call Mum to tell her I was going to be late. But once
Another
again,
running
I
theme.
couldn't do it because my phone had gone missing. Then I discovered that my bag was also missing and I couldn't find Lucas. I turned around and saw that I was no longer at the festival, but at Lucas's school. And to my horror, Lucas was still nowhere to be found.
Oh yes, this is a very, very common theme where I can't find Lucas in my dreams. He's run off somewhere. And I'm always like ending up at a school or something and trying to find him and stuff. And then he rushes off to play somewhere and I'm like calling the whole school and I can't find him. That's like another recurring dream that I have. This is just one version of it.
Andy and I looked everywhere and suddenly we noticed him having some kind of drink. That's not the real Lucas, that's yesterday's Lucas, because Thursday was the day everyone had a free chocolate drink, I said. Andy went over to search for Lucas in the shops across the road, and I was flying around with fake Lucas, who fell asleep and suddenly turned into a teddy bear. I
Oh
knew
god,
it, I
it's so
screamed.
random.
I ordered Andy to fly back and hold my bag because teddy bear Lucas was too heavy, and I couldn't fly properly. Then we found Lucas across the
Well, at least we could fly in the dream, so that's good.
road in one of the shops. Did you know how dangerous that was? We cried. Before we could say anything else, my phone rang and it was Mum, wondering why I hadn't called yet. I realised I was trying to call, except my phone had turned into one of those flip phones with 2 screens, and I had no idea how to answer it.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
jeez.
How did I suddenly end up in my garden? Is that a rat eating my plant? I thought as I suddenly saw my surroundings change. After catching the rat stealing my tomatoes, I put it in a cage. This isn't a rat, it's a hamster, I said, amazed. I looked above and discovered that a bird was trying to lay eggs, so I caught the bird and egg with one fell swoop.
Caught the
and put
bird
them in
and
the cage
egg.
as well. Whenever I checked the cage, I found the hamster sneaking out to drink water, because the hamster water dispenser outside the cage was. Perhaps if I...
Yeah, sometimes what happens is this app will like jumble letters. Like they'll say it's supposed to be was like outside the cage or something, but it just like for some reason some words just get skipped and then he says it later on, which makes it sound like it's not like doesn't flow very well, but it's actually supposed to be just like it's supposed to flow. So yeah, I don't know why that happens. Or sometimes I notice that certain words will be skipped.
I put it inside the cage, the rodent wouldn't attempt to escape. I said as I turned the dispenser around so the nozzle wouldn't stick out of the cage. After drinking some
It's
water...
so random that I just remember the dream, like the nozzle, you know, those things that the animals, like the rats and stuff drink, those little nozzles. It was like outside the cage and I was like, why is that outside the cage? This is why the the guinea pig, what do you call it? Hamster is just getting out of the cage, so I put it in.
The hamster immediately doubled its size. Wow, it must have been dehydrated. That's why it wasn't growing much, I exclaimed.
Oh,
The
like-
egg finally hatched, and to my surprise, the baby bird looked identical to its mother. I kept trying to feed them all kinds of food scraps, like orange pieces or broccoli, and hoping I was throwing the right spaghetti at the wall when I realized, hey, at least I was feeding them. That's an upgrade from my previous dreams when I constantly forgot and starved them. I spent a long time deciphering the difference between the two birds and realized that the mother bird was probably the one that looked a little older.
I love it. It's like, hey, little older. No, I remember, like, there were two birds. They looked exactly the same. I was like, which one is the mother and which one is the baby? And then they looked exactly the same. And I was like, the mother looks a little wrinkly. Like, I'm not even thinking birds, like, at this point. It's so random. It's like, I think the wrinkly bird is the older one.
Whenever I checked on the animals, I discovered they still found a way to escape the cage. Now the kittens were playing with them. And I hoped they wouldn't consider them prey when they got older, because they grew up with a hamster and bird.
It's like, why were they not even considering them prey at that moment, since kittens consider everything prey? Oh, God.
I didn't even get to finish raising my animals when I wound up on a bus trying to get back to my old house. The trip isn't that exciting until we reach...
Oh, jeez. So I'm going to just skip a little bit and then get into the... I'm going to have it read a little bit of the latest one. So, let's see. Okay, here we go.
I have just been assigned to look after my teacher's 1-year-old daughter and complete a set of tasks. If you don't complete this task, I will become mean, my teacher announced. I shuddered.
That's the funniest thing. It's like, if you don't complete your task, I'm going to be mean. I can't handle this. I don't even know.
Because that was the teacher with the worst mood swings. Oh God, I better do this right or else I'd be in deep shit. You need to also repeat the exact event of a story or people will disappear in your future.
That happens a lot.
I carried the child and tried to find my way up the lift. A friendly lady in there helped keep the door open. You need to place your hands in front of the lift to keep it open, she said. As I got in, I asked her to press level 5 for me.
It's so weird, like that lift, it was like, she was like, you have to put it in front of the lift. You can't put it on the lift to keep the door open. You have to put it in front. Like, let the lift scan you. That's what she said.
She was very. After I reached my floor, I went inside the hotel room to complete my tasks. Number 1. I didn't even get a chance to start my task before I was hit with the feeling of needing to go to the toilet.
See, this happens all the time.
I ran into the toilet and discovered it was a bathroom connected to the toilet in America with the water that was full to the brim. Once again, every surface was covered in shit, and I struggled to even find a clean spot to stand. For fuck's sake, they really need some standalone toilets, because this shit is going in the sink and bathtub. Yeah.
That's so funny. It's like a recurring dream where all the shit is everywhere in the bathrooms in this dream. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, even the bathtub is filled with shit, which is what happens anyway, so...
After a huge battle trying to clean things up, I finally sat down and did my business. Then I left the room carrying the baby with me. Oh, this is fantastic. She's so light and chill. I'm so happy she's not running off on her own. I happily whistled to myself as I opened the hotel room door to get a breath of fresh air. Suddenly, I felt immediate soreness in my arms as she ran outside to explore all the buildings. Wait a minute.
I just have to say, this is so funny. It's like, I felt sore in my arms when she ran off. It's like, in the dream, it hasn't occurred to me that she's run off. So I'm like sore in my arm because she's run off. It's so random.
How did she suddenly get as heavy as Lucas? Oh no, she ran off to explore the whole building just like Lucas does. I cried in disbelief as I realized she became so fast I couldn't even catch up. As I chased after her going up and down the floors, I suddenly realized that I was lost. The sea of floors suddenly looked exactly the same, and I couldn't remember what floor we were supposed to go to when we entered the lift. Again, I started frantically pressing buttons in an attempt to check each floor, but I realized that was just going to delay my task and ultimately fail. Suddenly, I realized one of my tasks was to remember the exact hotel number and floor I had to go to, which I had already failed. I tried to crawl through the locked gates from the wrong floor, but quickly realized it would trigger an alarm if my head touched any of the bells that were connected to the gate.
For some reason, one of my recurring dreams is there's always this one hotel room in this sea of floors that I'm always trying to find, and there's like so many rooms and I can't find it. And every time the situation's a little different. In this one, I'm like completing a task with my teacher's baby or something, and I'm just like, oh my god, I can't find the floor. Other times I'm just like at a vacation or something. There's always that floor that I cannot find in that hotel. That's like a recurring dream.
Finally, I made it back on the original lift and pressed the 4th floor button. I think you were supposed to go to the 5th floor because that's where you went last time. I heard a voice behind me say, "It was the same lady as before. How convenient. She just helped me remember what..."
Oh, jeez, this is so funny. It's like the lady is just behind me, like, oh, by the way, that's the floor. Oh, God, it's so funny. It's like, could you imagine that happening? Like, the same person's like, oh, by the way, you were going to the floor. Sorry.
I needed to go. I thanked her profusely and pressed the 5th floor button. Suddenly, everyone disappeared and I realized that I had just failed my task. So, I did what I always do in my dreams, reverse time, so I can redo everything because that was how I always fixed my mistakes.
Yep, I do that
I
all
rocked
the
up
time.
at my teacher's hotel room once more and prepared myself for this task. Suddenly, she had not just one child, but 5 of them. They were all teenagers and had been arguing bitterly with each other about random things.
I just love the way it says random things. But seriously. No, that morning, I know what happened is that was the day I was writing about all my work experiences with like babysitting kids and stuff. I was writing about it in my story, and I was writing about my old teaching degree, because I had to do like a teaching degree, or like 2 years of it. I never finished it, but I had to do that, and then I discovered that I really didn't like that. I had trouble with getting kids to stop fighting, so that, because I was writing about that just like manifested into a dream somehow, so that's how I got that.
Then, I realized something strange. Did the past change as well? The past wasn't supposed to change. What was going on? I kept reversing time over and over, trying to find the correct past, but every single time, she always had about 3 to 5 teenage kids with her. Ultimately, I gave up and decided I might as well attempt to do the task anyway. Then, I saw my past self appear out of nowhere, running to the exit. I can't do this anymore. The kids aren't listening to me. My past self cried and left the building. Wait, why was my past self Britney Spears? Anyway, I walked in.
I don't even know. Oh, this is so
Feeling
random.
positive and brilliant, as if I had a
My
fresh
stomach's
chance
hurting.
to start over. I walked into my teacher's hotel room and discovered that she had 4 older kids and a baby now. Well, at least one of them returned to their original age. I thought perhaps I could try and make friends with the older kids, but soon realized none of them wanted to do this task.
Jeez.
However, they were going to be sent to a camp if the task failed. I suddenly felt the urge to use the toilet again, but this time, the toilet was really a Woolies shopping centre.
That's so random.
Look at these flowers. They found a new way of selling potted plants without heavy soil. Look at how light it is. You wouldn't need to pay as much since they're sold by the kilo.
Oh my god, this is so random. It's like in the middle of this freaking task. I just ran up randomly in a shopping centre looking at plants. It's just so random.
"We need to collect some leaves and fruits to make our tea blend," Mum replied. I suddenly remembered I still had to complete the task and moved on. This time, the task involved having a stage full of people who were willing to watch us perform. I thought I'd have better success if I assumed the face of my teacher, so I became her. I looked around, and to my horror, I discovered nobody was on stage. This is bad. Nobody's on stage, and we're going to fail again. Someone. I realized they were right. I had to figure out how to fill the stage with people, and suddenly a brilliant idea came to mind. If you don't want to fail this stage again, you must do what I say. I announced to the class. I ordered all the kids, who were now my students, because I became the teacher, to start a story on stage. I began talking into the microphone about the silly fight we had. Suddenly, a bunch of people joined the crowd in fascination as they listened to me argue with the kids. How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes. Another kid sang as I handed my microphone to them.
Oh, this is so funny. It's like, oh yeah, everyone wants to watch an argument. That's why they're on stage.
Before we knew it, my brilliant plan had worked. Now the entire hall was filled to the brim with people eager to hear our argument. I thought to myself, yes, this is working. Once the entire hall was filled, I said to everyone, now we must keep them on the stage or else we'd still fail and would be in big trouble. Somehow we ended up singing and acting behind this huge tarp that was set up on stage, and I realized nobody could even see us anymore.
Alright, that's basically it. But Jesus Christ, that is just the funniest thing I've ever heard. I mean, like, seriously, I think when it's read out, especially, like, when it's read, it just sounds so much more, like, funny than when you're just reading it. When you hear it, it just is so random. And freaking hell, So yeah, you know what? If you have some time and you remember your dreams, try to write them down in a story format. Have someone, like, just put it in the speech thing, have them read it out. You'll probably make yourself laugh silly. So it's like...